Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the IO management and disk scheduling, which is one of the major important functionalities of operating systems. So in this entire presentation we are going to discuss about how the IO channels are managed with the help of various buses, system buses, that is especially how the IO operations can be done, whether any interrupts are recorded in this regard or not. If it is an interrupt is there, then how the interrupts are handled, and a blocking IO and non-blocking IO, all these things we are going to discuss in this presentation. And after that, anyway, why IO is required? Because a process wants to execute its own instructions, so we need a IO. Okay, in this all the processes instructions supposed to be bring it into the main memory, so that the disk scheduling algorithm plays a vital role in which process or which data we want to bring it into the main memory for its execution from the disk drive. How we can able to access those disk drive with the help of certain parameters, what is the seek time, and to improve the performance of the system, what is a response time, what is a seek time, everything we are going to discuss in the disk scheduling algorithm. But in this presentation we are going to discuss only about various IO devices and the organization of the IO function. So in this we are going to see only the IO devices, what are the various types of IO devices are there, and how it is included in the IO, and what are the various characteristics. And the next one is organization of the IO functions. It is not IO devices, it is IO functions, that is with the help of the various IO devices how the functions are carried out, especially for the memory read and for the memory write. Okay. So in IO devices, in generally it is grouped into the three categories. One which is a human readable IO devices, a machine readable IO devices, and communication devices. Now let me go through one by one. What do you mean by human readable IO devices? Now this human readable IO devices is used to communicate with the computer users, that is between the user and the computers. So how the communications will, in what are the various ways a user can communicate to the computer or the system is only that devices are the printers. Through the terminal we are going to communicate to the printers, and a video display. Through the keyboard we are communicating to the systems, and a mouse is also used in this category. So these all are a human readable devices. And the machine readable devices are which is used to communicate the electronic equipment like other external disk. One is called as a disk drives. Examples are disk drives, USB keys, sensors, controllers, and actuators. The communication devices, the third category. The final category is the communication devices. These devices are used to communicate the remotely available devices like digital line drives and modems. So these are the general three broad categories of IO devices. I will repeat once again. One is human readable IO devices, and second one a machine readable IO devices, and communication devices. Among all these three devices are differed in terms of certain various parameters, which is called as, one is data rate, the data rate of each and every system. Obviously the data rate for remotely available machine, remotely available devices and the keyboard is absolutely it is vary. And what are the various applications we are going to use, because if I take a disk and the keyboard, both the devices are not the same used for the same purpose. And complexity of the control, maybe the printer it is having less control, because we want to utilize that in a very easier way, so it have a less control, less degree of control. And a hard disk it have a more degree of control, because if we are disturbing anything with respect to that hard disk, obviously the entire system or our own data will be crashed. So the control will be more in that case. Then unit of transfer. So in this unit of transfer, that it means that maybe the communication devices or any IO devices may pass the data either the stream or a stream bytes, stream or a character wise, and second is block wise. So in general there are the two general types of transfer of data is there. One is called as a stream transfer, that is a character by character, and a block transfer which is called as a complete block of information or a complete page is transferred to the main memory or from the main memory to any other devices. And data representation, there are so many encoding schemes are there to represent the particular data. So each and every device its own adapts its various encoding schemes to represent its own data. And finally error conditions, the way in which how it is handle the error, how it is reported the error, and what is the consequences of the particular error. All these things is differed from the one devices into the another devices. So all the major thing is, these are the major parameters the devices are vary in that. First one, data rate. Data rate, there may be a difference of the difference is only the several orders of magnitude. Already I told you that a keyboard and then hard disk and a remotely available devices, obviously it varies in the data rates. Okay, so this is a typical diagrammatic representation where what are the various devices are available and what is its data rate. Okay, see in that keyboard is having a lesser data rate than the hard disk, and it is also lesser than the remotely available device, that is gigabit Ethernet. Okay, so next is application. So in this application, every device is meant to for a particular applications. Okay, so every device, if you want to include in the operating system, obviously we need to install the device driver. So device driver is not for common for every devices. So obviously, so it influence on the software. Okay, and we should have different policies in the operating system, and it have a supporting utilities for facilitating the operating system to handle those devices, and as well as also the users. For example, if we are talking about the disk in the file, if I want to store any files into the disk, obviously it need a file management software. And second one, if I want to store data into the page, then it's supposed to be handled with the virtual memory, hardware and software. So likewise, so every devices it's having its own applications. And even if you take a terminal, the terminal can be accessed by a normal user as well as also the system administrator. In that case, we have to differentiate their privileges and priorities for access with the privileges and giving the different priorities to access the operating system in different way. And the third one is a complexity of control. As I said earlier, it should have a different control and control over the various hardwares. Why we want to do that is because of how it can be incorporated into the operating systems. A unit of transfer, a stream or stream of bytes or a characters, and in a larger blocks. And data representation, as I said earlier, it have a various different data encoding schemes are there. It may vary a character code and parity conversions. the final one is error conditions. So the nature of error, it depends upon the way in which they are reported, their consequences, the available range of responses. It is differed from one devices into the another devices. Okay, so we have to maintain this diversity to have a consistent approach or a uniform approach to the I/O in the view of operating system and as well as also the user processes. Okay. Next is the organization of the I/O function. How the I/O functions. Now, earlier we have seen the various I/O devices, the categories of I/O devices, and how it is differed from each other. Now, how from this slide onwards, we are going to discuss about the organization of the I/O functions, how it exactly be invoked by the process or a operating system. So there are the three techniques for performing the I/O functions. One is called as a programmed I/O, and second one is interrupt driven I/O, and third one is direct memory access. Let me tell once again: programmed I/O, and second one is interrupt driven I/O, and third one direct memory access. Okay, so in the programmed I/O, that means there is no interrupt in it. A processor issues an I/O command to execute certain instructions on behalf of the particular process, and after issuing that command, the process it goes to the busy waiting for the operation to be completed before proceeding. Interrupt driven, here the process issues an I/O command on behalf of a process. Here there are the two possibilities are there. One we have to discuss, one we have to take care of that, a non-blocking, if it is a non-blocking I/O or a blocking I/O. If our I/O instructions issued by the processor is a non-blocking, so then the process will continue its execution. There is no waiting state in it. If it is a blocking I/O instructions, obviously the operating system will take a decision because that I/O is blocking state, so the particular process is also should be in the waiting state. Then it has to invoke the scheduling policy to bring the next process into the main memory for its execution. Next is direct memory access, which is called as DMA, which controls the exchange of data between a main memory and the I/O memory. Sometimes with the involvement of processor, that is a less involvement of intervention of the processor, or no intervention of the processes. So in that, what it will do is the processor send a request for transferring the entire block of data to the DMA module, and the DMA module will generate the interrupt for transferring the data. Once during the transferring of a data, the interrupt routines will not be executed. The interrupted only after the entire block has been transferred. So this diagram, it shows the relationship of the various I/O devices functions and what role the interrupt will place. In programmed I/O, there is no interrupts, as I said, and interrupt driven I/O, it uses the interrupts because as a blocking I/O instructions, and a direct memory access, it also uses the interrupts. And evolution of I/O functions. There are generally 6 evolutions are there. That is how the I/O functions are generated. Initially, during the initial period, the direct controls a peripheral devices. That is, a processor direct controls a peripheral devices. This is done with the help of microprocessor controlled devices. The second one is a separate I/O module is added in the processor. Then the processor uses the programmed I/O without having the interrupts. So in this case, some specific external devices interfaces are completely removed from the concepts, because here there is no interrupt in it. And third, we are using the same IO module in the processor, but the interrupt is also employed in that. We are also brought the interrupt concept in this. So the processor need not spend waiting for an IO operations to be performed. To having the increasing the efficiency, the interrupt is also included here. So during the IO operations, any processor need not to wait; it will take care of some other processes until to complete the particular IO operation. And the fourth is the IO module is given direct control of memory, that is the DMA concept is included. The IO module is given direct control of memory via DMA. So the moving of a block of data to and from the memory without involving the particular processor. That's why he said a DMA, it may have in this concept a processor having a less intervention or no intervention. The fifth one is that IO module is the separate processor is acting as a IO module with some specialized instruction sets. So in this case, what it will do is the CPU will direct the IO processor to execute certain instructions in the main memory. So after that, that processor will fetch and execute the instructions without having any intervention of the particular processor. So in this case, the performance of the system will increase, because once it is given the instructions to the IO module, IO processor, obviously the processor, the CPU can go and do other operations also. And next is, in every IO module, that some local memory is also included in this. So this architecture, a large set of IO devices can be controlled because it having its own local memory. With that, the control of communications is very easy, especially in the interactive terminals. This type of IO processor is involved in controlling the terminals, that is the interactive terminals. Okay, so in this case, if we are moving ahead this evolutionary path, obviously the more and more IO functions we can able to perform without the concept of or without the intervention of the processor. And the major changes, if we are using a separate IO processor, or if we are using a IO processor with the local memory, then obviously we need to have the much more detailed introduction. That is, we need to study how the exactly that particular IO device is acting as a processor, and how the memory is also incorporated for executing the programs. And direct memory access. So in this direct memory access, we are having this is a typical diagrammatic representation of the direct memory access. It is having a control logic, and it is address register, and it have a data registers, and it have a data count. So it make uses of all the data lines and control lines, that is a system bus of the processors. What do you mean by DMA? DMA is a separate module which is capable of replicating the processor activities, that is mimicking the processor by using taking the control of the system bus. With the help of this DMA, we can transfer a block of data to and from the memory. So how it is exactly going to be used? When the processor wishes to read or write block of data, what it will do is, first a processor issues the command to the DMA module. Now a processor wants to read or write a block of data. So first steps in the DMA is, a processor issues a command to the DMA module stating that I want to read the data, that or the particular process want to read the data or write this data into the particular block. So it uses the read and write control line between the processor and the DMA module. and the address of the IO devices are invoked and which is communicated to the data lines. The next step is, once the control is taken over, and we have to identify the address of the particular IO device, and that to be communicated to the data lines for reading or as well as also the writing. Once if the address is identified, then we have to specify the starting locations to the data lines to store the data or for reading and writing into the DMA modules with the help of the addressing registers. Then the number of words to be written or read, again it is communicated via the data lines and stored in the data count register. How many data I have, the count is also supposed to be registered. So that's why in a DMA module it have a data count register, and it have a data register, and it have a address register. So once if it is controlled, once if it is the operation is over, the entire block of data is a read or a read, then the control is given to the processor, and processor will continue the rest of the works. So the DMA module, it transfers the entire block of data directly to or from memory without having any intervention of the particular processor. Once the transfer is complete, then it generates an interrupt signal to the processor stating that my operation is completed, so that you start your beginning operation. Okay. So in this case, a processor will involve only at the beginning and the end of the transfer only. If we are including the DMA, why we have included the DMA, that is direct memory access, is because I want to improve the system efficiency. How it is achieved? Because the processor intervention of this DMA is very less, is very negligible only. It have that processor intervention is only in the beginning and end of the stages only. This DMA mechanism can be configured in a variety of ways. We have three different ways are there to configure this DMA. First example, first mechanism is, first configuration state is, all modules share the same system bus. Whichever the module, the processor, DMA module, and all the IO processor, IO and disk, everything is going to be used only the same system bus. So the communications will take place only with the help of the same system bus only. Now in that case, how the processor and DMA module will differ? Now in that case, the DMA make uses of a programmed IO for exchanging of any data, and it acting as a replication of the processor. It acts as another one process, that is called as a surrogate processor. So in this case, the DMA module is also act as a replicator of the particular processor. But this configuration is inexpensive and it is inefficient. So this is a diagrammatic representation. We have using the single bus for all the devices. The next is, the number of required bus cycles can be cut substantially. That is, a path between the DMA module and one or more IO modules that does not include the system bus. So this is an example, the diagram. It also have some other system buses. The DMA logic is actually in part of the IO module, so it may have a separate separate DMA module for the IO devices to have a control on the various IO modules, because the DMA, as I said earlier, direct memory access for reading and as well as also the writing. So in that case, is especially for, it needs only for the IO operations alone, for the IO modules alone. And third one, the third configuration is that IO processor and DMA, it uses the different system buses. This reduces the IO interfaces we can easily expand these configurations also. So the DMA module is also shares the system, shares the processor as well as also the memory, that is with the help of the system bus, and the DMA is also having a separate dedicated IO bus for connecting or controlling the various IO devices. Now the transfer of data will be taken only with the help of the IO buses. I hope you find the major difference between what are the various IO devices are there and how we are going to how it is categorized and what way it is differed, and how we can utilize the various memory IO functions, invoke the IO devices for executing certain functions. So if you have any queries, you please kindly send a query in my YouTube channel, so that it is easy for me to clear your doubts. Thank you.